Hi guys, I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to the second session of our menu workshop. We're going to be working on this scene which has an HDRI image, some lights, and it's a small scene. We're going to create some basic menus with this, and we're going to learn how to do it. I chose a very small scene because I want to give you access to the scene so that you can download it and use it for practice, but it doesn't matter if it's a bigger one, the principles are the same. As I said, we're going to create a simple menu for this scene so that our client could choose start and go and navigate throughout the project, or change the setting, and maybe they can have a gallery where they can see some photos and maybe some other options that we want to include in that menu. But before we start, let me tell you something. When the client can go inside the project and change the color or the mesh for the furniture or the floor or any other item in the scene, that requires creating blueprints, which is basically another topic that requires another workshop, which falls beyond the scope of this one. And we're going to be focusing on creating menus with blueprints. They can open the window, open the door, maybe turn on or off the lights, and things of that nature. We're going to be focusing on creating menus, and specifically for ArcWiz projects and projects that are related to architecture. All right, now we can start, and the first thing that we have to do is to just plan our work. Now, if you paid attention to the menus that I showed you in the previous session, we had a background video, some kind of looping animation that was playing, and after that the client could choose a start or options or an exit, and we want to create something like that. In order to be able to create something like that, we have to create another level. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean when I say we have to create another level. Let me just quickly show you what I meant. So this was the video or the looping animation that I was talking about. This requires another level separate from the actual scene itself. So when the client opens the file, they get this level, and if they click on start here, they will be navigated or directed into another level. And we have to create all those levels ourselves. So if the client clicks on start, which is what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to show you. Like I said, it's just like a video game. They get directed into another level. Imagine a video game where you just finished killing some enemies, and then you have to wait for the next mission or the next level to be loaded, and then you go inside the next level. So this is what I mean by having multiple levels for our work. So far, we have to create at least two. The first one is basically the scene itself, and the second one is just what I just showed you with the looping animation. All right, so if we go inside this scene again after it's loaded there, okay, so this is the main level. All right, so we don't need this sample anymore. Let's just go back to work. So far, we just learned that we have to create another level for our menu. So let's go ahead and do that. We can do that easily by going into the content browser and creating another menu, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to navigate to this folder where my main level is, and I'm going to create another level, and we can call it something like menu level 1, for example. And these names are really important because later on we're going to have a lot of files, and with these names we can just navigate to them more easily. So basically this is the new level that we just created. I just saved it. It's empty, it doesn't have anything, and this is the main level, which is basically the scene itself. All right, now we have the two levels ready, and we can just navigate back and forth. Like I said, we create our menus on a separate blank menu like the one that we just created, and I'm going to open it up with a double click. Inside it, what I'm going to do is to just right click on the content browser, go to user interface, and select widget blueprint. This is the one that we use to create our menus, our buttons, images, everything is created with this widget blueprint. So I'm going to select it, and here I'm going to select widget blueprint in this tab or window again. And here we have to choose a name for it, and this is what I recommend you to do. Choose names that you can recognize and you understand. 01 start seems appropriate, or maybe, you know what, I'm going to call it start. I'm going to call it start. And we're going to have multiple widget blueprints like this for basically for each page that we create in our menu. We're going to have one of these files. So let me show you in practice what I mean. So if I go back to that sample, I can show you what I mean when I say we have one of these files for each one of our menu pages or windows. So this requires one widget blueprint like the one that we just created. If I go into options, we need another one. So with each window or section in our menu, we need to create one of those files. So it's very important for you to remember that for the rest of the video. So I have one for the starting menu, the starting page, which I just created and called start. Okay, I can just open it up and we can go inside and see what we can do there. I double click on it and we get this window. It doesn't really resemble the rest of the working spaces that we get inside Unreal, maybe the material working space, but it's certainly different. Let's get more familiar with it. On the left, we have a palette, which basically is our toolbox. We get to use different buttons, images, text, anything that we want to add into our menu. I can just select and drag it over there. Okay. Now, underneath the palette, we have the hierarchy, which we can just make different hierarchies for the elements that we use for our menu. For example, we have different buttons, we have different images and text. Here we can order our elements. Some of them could have a child-parent relationship. Some of them are embedded inside another. And here we can just make everything orderly in the order that we see fit and make everything do what we want them to do. So that's what we basically do here, and we'll learn more about it later. We have this right panel. If I drag a button here, for example, we get this detail panel on the right where we can just choose different settings and controls for the button. We can change the size, the color, everything. So this right detail panel is very important, and we're going to learn a lot of the options there to create professional looking menus for our ArcWiz projects. All right, so what's next? What's the first thing that we have to do after we created a blank level? Well, we have to add a canvas. We search for a canvas here in the search box, and we find one and we drag it into the scene. In Unreal Engine 4, it was already added to the scene. In Unreal Engine 5, we have to manually search for it and drag it into this space so that we can just have a canvas, because everything sits on the canvas like the name suggests. So we need a main canvas for our menu, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to select this canvas panel here, and I'm going to add it to this screen here so that we can have a canvas to work with. So I'm going to drag it over here, and after I did that, I can control this screen with the mouse scroll. I can zoom out and zoom in. I can, if I hold it down, I can just pan it like so, and I can change the size, which is really important. So basically I can choose HD size, full HD, 4K, 2K, any size that I see fit here. And for different projects, you may need to change a different size. For our projects, an HD or full HD size would suffice, and you can just easily change the size with this button here. Okay, so you can easily choose what type of resolution or size you want to have for your menu. Usually you don't really need to use that big of a size, and an HD or full HD will be enough. I'm recording in full HD, and that is what I'm going to choose here. Okay, so I'm going to choose not HD, full HD here, this size. Okay, that's good. Okay, now we have the main canvas panel ready, and I suggest that you take notes so that everything would be easier for you, so you would know what to do when you wanted to study, if you wanted to review things. So the first thing that we need to do here is to create a canvas panel, and that is what we just did. Okay, so what's next after this? Next, we have to choose or select a background for our canvas, something that sits behind the buttons and everything else. So it can be an image, or it can be a video. And we're going to start with simple things. So we're going to start with an image, so that when the client opens the file, they get this image on the menu, and then they can just choose a start and go inside the project. So to get that background image, it would be better if you chose that image from somewhere inside the project itself, and that is precisely what I'm going to do now. So I'm gonna save this level that we just created with the canvas and everything, and go back to the main level. So let me just do that, put this to the side. I'm going to go to the content browser. This was the level that we were working on, so let's go back to the main level. Let's go inside there and find a nice angle. Okay, so I think I want to choose the ceiling as my background image. Okay, this would be nice. And I'm gonna have to probably hide the chandelier. So let me just simply add the camera to this angle here. Simple camera would do. Okay, so let me just fine tune the angle so that we have a nice looking screenshot. Okay, I just hit the chandelier, put the camera there. This would be nice. Let me just rotate it slightly. Okay, so I think this is fine. Okay, maybe this side. No, the other side was fine. Let me just zoom in a little. All right. Okay, this looks nice. So what I'm gonna do next is to just select the camera again, sorry, and take a high quality screenshot. So I'm gonna go here and choose screenshot. Okay, high quality screenshot. I'm gonna choose 3 as the multiplier so that it's a nice quality. That would be good. So let's wait for that to happen. Okay, this is the screenshot. It's fine. Okay, we need to import this image inside Unreal and use it as our background for the menu. So I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to copy it, and so let's go back inside Unreal, go to the content browser, right click, select import, and I'm going to paste the image here. Okay, and I'm going to select it to be imported inside my content browser. It's there. Okay, I can just close this window. I could have just dragged it into my content browser as well. That would have worked too. Now I want to rename the image. Let's call it pick 1. Okay, it's saved now. It's ready. Now we can just go back to the canvas and we can continue our work. Now we need to tell Unreal that we need an image as the background. For that, I go to palette, drag an image. Okay, inside my canvas, and I can just manually change the size whenever I want to. So let me just make it bigger for the time being. And okay, so there's the image. Now we need to load the pic that we created for the background, the ceiling. Okay, so let me just collapse all of these tabs in the details panel so that I can see things more clearly. I go to appearance, I go to brush, and we have an image. Okay, so in the image tab, I click on none and search for the name of my picture, which is pick 1. I find it and I click on it. Okay, now I get to put this wherever I want in my canvas and choose the size that I want. I'm gonna make it the same size as the size of my canvas, and make sure that your image is not deformed after you resize it. So pay attention to the size of the image that you want to use as your background. Okay, that's good. And now whenever I want to choose the canvas, not the image, I can just easily go to hierarchy and choose the image or the canvas easily. Okay, so that's that. And let me just make sure that my image covers the whole canvas one more time. That's good. All right. Okay, now it's time to save, and after you save, make sure that you click on compile too. Everything that you do here, you gotta compile it to see if there are any errors. And if there are no errors, you would get a green check mark. So pay attention to this green check mark anytime that you are working with any type of blueprint, and make sure to make a habit of compiling everything after you are done. Let's go back to main and click on this play button here, go to game mode and see where our player starts from. So our player starts from this place. So instead of that menu background that we just made, they end up here, which is basically not what we want. We want them to see that menu that we are creating for them, this image. Okay, so we have to make some changes here. We have to define for Unreal Engine whenever our client opens up the file that we gave them, which basically translates into clicking on this play button here, going into game mode, what happens first. So what they get when they open up the file, and we want that to be this image or this menu that we just created, not ending up somewhere in the project, okay? And we have to remember that we created another level as well. So we have two levels here. We have the main, which is the scene, and we have this other level that we created for our menu. And everything we are about to do right now should happen inside this file, this menu that we created for the client. That's what we want them to see. So I double click on it. There's nothing here yet. When I click on play, go into game mode, nothing happens. There's nothing inside. What we should have here is that background image and probably buttons that we want to add here so that they can just use and go inside the project. Okay, so we have these two levels. This is the menu. This is the main one inside the project, and we have to start with the menu, with this one. Okay. So again, I want to recap. So we want to tell Unreal Engine that whenever our client opens up the file, they should get this level, which involves or includes the background image and the buttons that we're going to add later on. So let's actually start doing what we set out to do. First, we need to click on this button, and then we click Open, which basically opens all the blueprints that are inside this level. Okay, so this empty level that we created for our menu, we click on that, and then we get this window, which is kind of like the one that we got with the widget blueprints. It's called event graph. This is where all the magic happens with blueprints. I'm going to have another workshop dedicated to blueprints where you can learn all about making interactions with the player, how to change the color or the mesh. But for the time being, let's focus on what we have to do right now. Okay, so we have these couple of nodes. One of them is called begin play. And if I search for it here, event begin play, I can just find it here as well. But since we can only have one at all times present in our on our event graph, if I add another one from the list, the previous one disappears. And we really didn't need to add another one. The previous one would have worked just fine. I just wanted to show you how we can add nodes to the event graph. Okay, so let me tell you what this does. So in simple words, this node determines what happens when the client, or to be more precise and more technical, the player clicks on or executes the executable file that we gave them, or the game file. Okay, so when they run the game or they execute the file that we have created for them, that node is responsible for bringing up this page or this menu, for example. Okay, so it's a very important node. All right, and remember that all the other events that follow this have to come after it, and we're going to have a flow from left to right, and this order is not going to change. So everything that happens should go from left to right, which is basically something you will get the hang of as we make more progress in the course. So what should we do now? Now we need to create another node called create widget. So I drag this node here and I search for create widget. Okay, so this is the one, and I can just add it by clicking on it, and I suggest that you make another note of this one as well. All right, so we just told Unreal Engine that after our client opens up that file, they should get this widget. Now, what is this widget? We want it to be the widget that we just created and called start, this one with this background. So what we have to do is to load our own widget inside this one. We find it here from the list. Okay, it's called start, and we select it there. Now this is ready, but it's not gonna show up in our viewport because we need another node for that. All right, so we need to add another node to this one, which could basically help us display our widget on the viewport. So we need to create that node as well. So I'm going to drag this here and I'm going to search for add to viewport. Okay, so add to viewport, it's this one. So I'm going to create this node as well. And this node needs a target. So we have to link return value to target. Okay, later on you will learn more about these terms. But for the time being, let's just link them and recap. So we have this node called event begin play, and we added a create widget to it, and then we loaded our own widget inside this create widget node, and then we created another node called add to viewport, and we linked return value to target. That is all we did here. Okay, so now this is ready, and after the client or the player opens up the executable file, they will see our widget on their viewport. So I'm going to compile, everything seems okay, no errors, and I go back to the content browser. Remember that everything that we did was inside this level called menu. So this time if I click on this play button, I get this background or the widget that we have created for our level. Now let me just show you something else. If you wanted to see what happens exactly when the client opens up the executable file, you can go to these three dots here and choose a standalone game. Okay, so if you choose this option, you get to see what happens exactly when the client, let me just save, opens up the executable file. Okay, this is what happens. They get this window, all right, and let's wait for it to be loaded properly to see what happens. Okay, this is what they get. This is what happens when they double click on the executable file. And if you couldn't find the mouse momentarily, you can just always press the start button on the keyboard and find the mouse button, and then you can just close this window. All right, now so whenever we click on the play button and go to game mode, from now onwards we're gonna get the standalone game like we just had. Okay, so we're gonna get this. So this is what happens when the client double clicks on the executable file. And later on in the course I'm going to show you how to change this Unreal Engine icon as well. So let me just show you again. So it's on the standalone game, and if I click on play, on the left top corner of the window you will see this Unreal Engine icon that we're going to learn how to change later on. Right now, so far we have learned how to add an image as the background image of our menu, and I suggest that you use a very high quality screenshot of the project itself, which could be very effective. And that's it for this session. In the next one we're going to learn how to add some buttons and some other items to our menu, and I will see you there.